Hi, I'm Laura.
Hey, I'm Stefan, and you're listening to Attributed, a podcast library by Dreamdata.
The purpose of it is to store and share all the knowledge that we have gathered across Dreamdata employees through our LinkedIn Lives, podcasts, and webinars.
The typical topics you'll find here can be stuff like marketing,
Sales,
B2B ads,
operations.
social selling maybe. Hello and welcome everybody to today's Attributed session brought to you by us here at Dreamdata. Today I'm super excited because I get to talk with my old colleague Tony, who have been on an amazing journey from being a junior engineer at a company called Airtime, where we worked together and managed to co-found a company and sell it off to Miro. And that's the story we're gonna look at today. Tony, today is, let me just find your correct title, Tony, and you can correct me if I'm wrong afterwards, but you're the head of AI products at Miro today.
That's right, yeah. Nice to see you, Stefan. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but for those who have never heard about you, Tony, or Uizard or Miro, maybe you can kind of just do the quickest of summaries of your background.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an AI engineer by training, software engineer. Got into machine learning and AI before it was cool, which was what got us to build Uizard. And now Uizard was acquired by Miro June 2024, and now we're basically empowering Miro's product line with AI at the core. So for those that don't know, Miro is the most widely used collaboration platform out there to just streamline work across teams for product design, engineering, and anything in between.
Yeah, and we're super happy customers of Miro at Dreamdata.
Amazing.
But Tony, many people would know the Uizard product, but maybe we should just kind of get the scene set on kind of what like Uizard does and then hear about the fantastic product. But then as a marketer, I'm super interested to hear about kind of all the go-to-market mechanics that brought you to like millions of users and see if there's anything I can learn, but also our listeners can learn from what you discovered at Uizard. But now I shared the screen of the front page of Uizard today, but maybe what are the kind of basic components of Uizard? Or what was the basic idea you started with? Let's start there.
Well, the what we started with was very different from what what Uizard became. As you can imagine, being a founder yourself, you got to iterate if you wanna live on as a startup. But today, what Uizard is basically an AI-powered design tool. So think of it as like a Figma, but way easier to use, such that product managers, product teams can easily create prototypes, wireframes, and mockup for their product IDs. And so everything that is part of Uizard is now being integrated in Miro. So the core prototyping AI, all the wireframing AI, all of that is now available under the Miro product.
Super cool. And how did you and did you have one or two co-founders? One or something? How many did you have?
No, almost sounds like a bad joke because we're like a French, a Dane, a Dutch, and a Greek, so four in total.
And walk into a bar
and start an AI company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys study together, or how did you meet?
So three of us actually studied together, but just a very different line of specialization. And then the last one was actually a co-founder with one of the other two previously. So they basically built a company together before.
Yeah. How come you decided to co-found a company then? I'm curious, like, was it just like the belief of young people that nothing can go wrong and let's see what happens, or did you have some kind of very early evidence that idea about taking a photo becoming an app could actually be realized?
So I didn't want to start a company. I wanted to build some cool AI products. That's honestly the honest answer. And so I was doing AI research in my spare time, and then one of the ideas started to take off and get traction online. And when people started to email me to say, "Hey, I know this is just supposed to be research, but can I use it with my team?" This is where I realized, oh wow, people want to use this. Okay, maybe we should actually try to productize this and build a business around it. But it was never meant to be a business from the get-go.
And here, like as a marketer, I'm thinking, how did those people hear about this project or like your research project?
I guess if we put back context now, because we're in 2025, everybody is using AI for every stuff possible. Lovable is flying high. It's pretty self-obvious now that you can use AI for prototyping, wireframing, turn mock-up sketches to prototype. But back in 2018, 2017, it was pretty sci-fi to put some demo videos online that you could take a hand-drawn sketch and turn it into a UI design, people were pretty mind blown. And so the video started spreading virally, and that's kind of how people got to know about like this, even though it was typically like very niche AI research. It was through the videos and through the demos.
So you made a YouTube video, or where did you release that video?
Stupid, simple YouTube videos just demoing the tech. That was it.
Oh, super cool, Tony. And then did your co-founder see that video and reach out to you? What was the next step?
So we knew each other from before. As I said, like three of us knew each other from like a long time. We studied together,
Yeah.
and again, like two of them were already building something together, which is pretty similar but not AI focused. It was more like, how can we bridge the gap better between developer, designers, product managers, while I was doing this like side project of mine.
Yeah.
And so when things started to take off, we were all following this together. They were building their own thing. I was doing my thing, and eventually we were like, okay, people want to use this. Should we just merge forces and try to just turn this into a product? Those guys already had somewhat of a platform. I had built the core technology, and so it became pretty obvious that okay, let's do it. Let's try to do something here.
That's super fantastic. And I guess that you got a lot of validation from people all over the place, seeing that there could be an application for the product, like the searching for. Well, yeah, like if we talk about product market fit, were people coming from the same types of use cases, or was it a bit all over the place of how they wanted to apply the technology?
So we had validation on a core concept, but we were far from product market fit. Let me tell you that we had to iterate quite a few times to find our niche. In the beginning, people that were approaching us being excited about the technology that they are seeing on demo videos were like everything from designers, engineers, startup, large enterprise. It was all over the place. So we just had validation that this had value. We had no idea who would ultimately become the end customer. And so that's something that we started to figure out and optimize for way later.
That's super cool. And then what kind of team assembled? Agree, kind of now. Let's try to build some kind of company. What did you do then to get to the first, say, 100, 1,000 users of the product?
It was pretty much organic still. So what we end up doing, because we saw that the demo videos were going viral, we put like a wait list on our landing page, like telling people, hey guys, you can sign up for early access whenever this go live. And then it's just some stupid gamified viral loop where people could just go up the wait list by inviting their friends and colleagues to the wait list. And this very simple mechanics went pretty crazy. So in a couple of weeks and months, we accumulated like 10,000 signups, which help us to basically feed the machine once the product was ready to use.
That's insane. Who came up with the idea of gamifying the wait list?
It was my co-founder. A credit to Florian and Henrik. There was the two behind the waitlist.
Amazing. I wonder whether you could pull that off today.
We actually did it again when we launched a sub-product of ours. So in 2023, we launched something called Auto Designer. Auto Designer was the first prompt to prototype type of offering out there. And we did the same thing. We had a demo video showing what the tech would do once released. We put a waitlist, a gamified waitlist, and same story. It actually worked out, and we accumulated, I think it was 60,000 sign up to the waitlist in 2 weeks with no marketing.
It's amazing. Not many people get to sit with a product with that so much attraction that they can actually build the sort of tension and demand just to kind of try it out.
But again, I think we benefited from the novelty effect greatly. At the times, there was really nothing similar. I think it will be harder to just pull it off today with the exact same product. There's just so many different solutions now that can do the same thing in many ways.
That's probably also a good, let's say, tech founder advice to not, instead of playing where the current market is playing, maybe try searching for the cutting edge, because the competition there will be a lot less.
I would agree. The cutting edge is what I personally find interesting and motivating and driving. So I would always tend to, rotate around the cutting edge. Although I think there's also a lot of value now to just take a well-established product or market and just make it 10 times better with AI, and still get traction, pretty much organically if you have the right wow factor in your MVP.
Yeah. And I can't completely remember your kind of funding story. Did you take the wait list and then go to some investors to kind of get money to assemble like some kind of product team, or how was the story there?
So investors started to also organically reach out because people started to see the traction and interest online, which was again pretty wild. So
Yeah.
without doing a lot of work to source investors, we could quickly get like in front of 40, 50 people. This said, even though we were getting in front of investors, it was still painfully difficult to raise our first check.
Okay.
We were like four nerdy people, no idea how to build a company, no idea how to think about business. We were just driven by technology. And so it still take a while to just find, investor founder fit. And it actually took 6 months to close our first check. So even though we had traction, it was not like an easy game.
That's what the flashy headlines doesn't tell you, that getting the first check is really hard, and you need to pitch sometimes 100 times to 100 different investors before somebody says yes.
Exactly. And again, it was 2018. Like, investors had honestly no idea what AI was and why it was transformative. I got to be honest, now it sounds ridiculous, but back then, only a handful of investors really got it. Like the first investors that believed in our vision and believed in us was Evan Nisselson from LDV Capital. LDV Capital is based in New York and have been doing like computer vision and AI for 10 years. So
Yeah.
they got it.
Yeah.
Other people just didn't get it. And that's why we struggle hard.
That's fantastic. If we think the business model back then was completely free, is that correct?
Completely free beta, which I think is a big mistake, that we waited way too long to start charging customers, which meant that I think we delayed the amount of strong validation we could have gotten. So yeah, free private beta until we put a price tag on the product in 2021.
How many you don't have to say if you're not allowed to disclose, but how many users were you at before you actually added the pricing model?
That's a good question. Honestly, like it took a while to even build the product. It was again like building AI pre-LLM, so we had to build everything ourselves. It was very very similar to Figma. Figma took 5 years to build and then launch, and I think we took us 4 years to build and then launch. So by the time we launched publicly in 2021 with a price tag, I don't remember. We might have had like 500,000 users at this point, all free. I'm not sure. It was no, I don't think it was. It must have been 100,000 or less.
Yeah.
Because things took off like after that. So no, it must have been way lower than that.
You were just too busy building the product to think about monetizing, or was it more like, let's just get users first and then we figure it out?
It was again like a very naive first-time founder approach of like, let's just get product market fit by looking at activity and engagement, and we will figure out pricing later. Which, in retrospect, I think was a big mistake. We learn way more, way faster by introducing pricing. Friction can help. is the hard learning.
Oh, please do go deeper into that kind of.
Yeah.
What's the difference in validation of getting a user as opposed to getting somebody to pay for something?
You will always find millions of people that want to try your product for free, use it for free. But that's not how you're going to build a business. Building a business means that you need to bring revenue in and make sure that people are willing to pay you, not one time, but like over and over again, month after month, for using your product. And once we introduced pricing, we started to get like strong product market fit signals. Before that, it was just weak product market fit signal. Some users will use us, they will drop. You can not see a lot of hard stickiness. It was really hard to understand, okay, what is the collaboration play here when multiple people use a product together at the same time, because we also had a strong intuition that this will become a collaborative platform. And it's only when we put pricing, which was still cheap, like like the first price point was like $9 a month, very low barrier of entry, but it made
afraid
all
of
the difference.
charging too much as well.
Exactly. But this simple psychological dynamic of like people actually paying you a few dollars each month to use the platform made all the difference in terms of like how user will engage, how user will seriously use the platform for like work, invite their colleagues, collaborate, and so on. So yeah, we waited too long to introduce pricing, that's for sure.
That's super interesting. I guess it was one of these products where, well, like one user buys it and maybe then shares with colleagues, rather than
Right. Yes.
a motion where you would go to a company and say, don't you want to acquire 100 licenses and then you can distribute?
That's right. From a go-to-market perspective, it became like a prosumer play. So B2C to B, individual users will start utilizing the product, invite their colleagues, and eventually we would grow, into teams. Typically, teams spread throughout the organization because it was pretty much like product-led. And eventually, we tried to consolidate these multi-teams into sales deal through top-down sales.
Brilliant. Very impressive. So now we're at this point where the viral videos and some gamification have given you a user base of 100,000 or so. What would kind of the next kind of inflection points in terms of like growing the user base? One of the things I, as an on the outside, remember has been if I say a bunch of product hunt campaigns. Would that be correct?
So product hunt definitely helped to just get in front of more and more people. But ultimately, I think that what really like made the higher scalability, if I would say, of the go-to-market motion was positioning. For a very long time, we really didn't know what this product was for. It was used by designers, engineers, product managers, sometimes even marketeers, creating, using our platform to create landing page mockups and stuff like that. But once we really realized, oh, we have strong product market fit with product managers and product teams, this is when things started to scale because we had a stronger positioning, which meant that messaging was clearer. We could just, got to the end customer way more effectively, and then the machine started to work. The second moment where things start to scale rapidly is when ChatGPT came out. And the reason for this is pure SEO. And I know that SEO is typically not like at the key thing that founders should look into investing because it's like long-term play. But the reason why it worked for Uizard is that we were already having a lot of blog content about AI for creativity, AI for design, AI for prototyping since 2019. And so when ChatGPT came out, and showing the entire world, hey, you can use AI for ABC, people started to Google for like, oh, maybe there's AI for design, maybe there's AI for prototyping. And we had all the SEO ready to capture that demand. And things like went crazy after that. So ChatGPT like became, the tailwind, if you will, to our, couple of years old SEO strategy.
So I think if you ask many people, they heard about ChatGPT for the first time, maybe in the beginning of last year or so. Is that the same time you see the kind of SEO search, or was there something where the developers would have spotted ChatGPT earlier?
It was in 2023, like when things really like went crazy. 2023, ChatGPT become like pretty much viral because OpenAI released the API back in 2020, but it was not even called ChatGPT. It was just like very, down to the metal. It was GPT-2, only available through an API. It was pretty much like developer focused. ChatGPT was like consumer facing, and then I think it came out 2023, and this is when we saw like this rapid tailwind, completely organic viral growth from SEO led channels.
Yeah, I think I heard a podcast with the head of growth at ChatGPT. He said that like the consumer facing app was just an outcome of a hackathon or something like that, where they were
Oh wow, didn't know that.
what can we actually use this fantastic technology for? And then somebody pitched a consumer facing app, and I think that's what most of us know ChatGPT like today.
It's insane. Yeah, it's pretty wild how how crazy fast it went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting again, Tony. Also with the frontier, you said like if you pick a frontier, like there's less competition, and also the content you're producing about this frontier, if you're lucky enough to bet on the right category, then you'll be well positioned to kind of what's like like to kind of harvest all the demand that is coming out of a rising category.
I mean, yes, we did well as first mover. I'm really happy with the outcome. Everybody's happy with where we landed. But again, like I think we also need to remind ourselves that historically speaking, the first mover is not always the biggest winner. This happened with search engines. Google was, I don't know, sixth maybe or seventh in the
Yeah.
game, still won the game, even though they were not the first mover. Lovable, I would say now is probably arguably the biggest winner so far in terms of like fast growth for AI powered prototyping and development.
Was there.
We were first, but
Yeah.
again, like being first also mean that you have a lot of headwinds to build the market, build the like teach users that this is even possible, tell the world that this is something they can actually search for and use for. And you never want to be the one teaching the market. It's time consuming, and very difficult to do. So yes, it worked out for us, but I'm not sure that this kind of like edge approach is the way to build big businesses as a recipe.
Okay. Let's say you also said positioning, which I think is it's also something I have only really become aware about as I became a founder. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with finding product market fit, that you need to be able to explain what it is that you do and who the product is for, and you need to be able to do it in a distinct way so people get what it is. And that kind of lesson, it's the same for us about selecting who you're for and who you're not for. It's extremely valuable, and it really helps basically align the whole company. And I would always advise people to have positioning as something that is the company wide communicated, so everybody kind of knows what direction that they are supposed to run in. But maybe you can talk through a bit about how you kind of found the positioning that was right for Wizard. What did you study, the users? Did you study the numbers? What did you do to kind of set you on to the right course there?
Very much like data driven. Speak with customers, that are actively using a platform. Look at what their profile is. Segment, segment, segment. I can't say that enough. You need, to so many different people might have different behaviors, and if you don't really have ways to segment them, you won't learn the full truth. So yeah, pretty simple, honestly. No magic there. Just speaking with customers, looking at data, and then segmenting to see whether there are key categories that stand out.
Yeah, and then what does success criteria then look like for, like, once you make many different segments and you talk with people? What would kind of the like light bulb moment you were looking for when you were speaking with people?
So over time, once we had pricing, once we had a couple of months of being live, it was pretty straightforward. You look at retention, 30-day retention, 60-day retention, who's sticking around, who's not churning, pretty simple stuff. But before you have enough users and enough recurrent month of activity, we actually used this quite famous survey that Raul Vora from Superhuman actually made popular, which is actually originally coming from the author of Hacking Growth, which I forget his name now. But the question is pretty easy. It's like, how would you feel if you can no longer use a product? Will you be very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, or not disappointing at all? And then we will use this question as a benchmark of like who to basically trust when it comes to feedback and who to segment away from the key user group. And that gave us like the first kind of like guiding principle to go after. And then of course then you wait for actual months of recurrent activity, months of recurrent payments to just validate whether this initial hypothesis was true.
Sean Ellis.
Sean Ellis, yes, the godfather. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Sean, if you listen, that I forgot your name.
I think he was the founder of the growth hacking
Yes,
movement, and he
and
had.
I can only recommend the book Hacking Growth. Fantastic book for founders.
I think that's kind of, at least for your case, that really speaks for the great upside of having a free product as you launch your business, because you get to speak with a lot of people, as opposed to if you do like an enterprise play where you build something that is very expensive and you have to charge money up front. Then your cohort of customers might be 4 people that you can speak to, or like 4 companies, and then the chance of you, even though one person is happy, it's just still just one account, as opposed to you guys having hundreds of thousands of people to speak with.
Completely, and I think that's something actually Sean actually talk explicitly about when he talk about the surveys. Like you need volume to have this make sense, and same with Raul Vora, who build like an engine around that survey. If you don't have enough volume, you won't learn a lot by using this tool.
Oh, super nice. Okay, so now, because I noted this exercise, so step 1 is, okay, who is the product for? And I think you say product managers, designers, stuff like that, right? But what were the consequences then on kind of like honing in on a certain group or a certain segment? What kind of things did you roll out in the organization? How did your behavior change?
We basically changed the landing page content pretty extensively. Instead of being like at some point we had this like how do you say marketing catchphrase that we're a design tool for everyone, which basically meant no one, right? And eventually we were a design tool for non-designers, and eventually we became a design tool for product managers, and things started to work better. So adapt the landing page content and then drill down on everything else that you have as collateral: blog posts, social media posts, everything. It should be tailored to that key persona you want to go after. Also testimonials, right? Whenever we had users successful in the key categories, we wanted to find more people in. We would write blog posts about their successes, have testimonials on all over the landing page and the product. Pretty simple stuff. And then also we did a few influencer partnership. with people that were pretty close to our target users, and also it did work great, right?
On that one, you were also early. Like both, there's a huge consumer influencer space now, but I think also there's a lot of B2B creators
Exactly. Yeah.
now. But back then, I guess they didn't know what they were worth.
Yeah, I mean, it was we spoke with a lot of different influencers within product management and prototyping and design, but you're right, at that point in time they were not as wanted.
What type of things did you get them to, or what was the collaboration with them?
It was pretty simple. A lot of them are asking for like a monthly fee for sharing content from the business. Some of them just wanted to get like free access to the platform because they wanted to use it themselves. And then they would post videos whenever we had some new features coming out, some new capabilities we would release, and they would get early access, show their audience, and stuff like that.
Were you worried about paying for this? Did you think that how did you kind of do the ROI math of
Yeah, well,
like
I guess the core thing here is that what gave us the strong belief that this would pay off is that we knew that from the early days of the company, visual content such as videos was like going viral and speaking the language of the product to the core audience. And so like working with influencers was more or less just about amplifying that early traction we had ourselves. So if people would keep sharing our videos, keep talking about the videos, and they will tell through the sign up flow that they found us through a video, we knew it was working. And we actually had a few interesting stories where we actually did a few experiments on TikTok with influencers, and then some B2B enterprise reached out to have a sales conversation, and they heard about it through their kids using TikTok and finding, a video about this product, and the kids knew that the parents were working in that specific industry, and they're like, "Hey, dad, mom, you should check that out."
that's really
Yeah, would it be like tremendous ROI? Probably not, but it helped with word of mouth at times where we couldn't
yeah.
actually get it organically only.
How many followers would these people have?
It depends. Like we work from anywhere from people that had like 10K followers to like millions.
Oh wow, okay. You had the component you have already validated that these videos typically do quite well once they get posted, and then if you find somebody with a million followers, then you're bound to see some success coming out of that.
Yeah, and we had some really like what I would call completely mutually beneficial relationship where the video about Wizard would actually be the highest viewed video for that specific influencer. So people, it was also like a nice relationship basically with some of these folks.
Amazing. And maybe just can we go a little bit into the product hunt, kind of how you felt about using that and why you used it, and kind of is the community the same as it was?
Very different. I was going to say product hunt has changed a lot over the past 5 years, I would say. Still, it's probably still worth it to just share things there, especially if your target customer is somewhat within the Silicon Valley, type, category, I would say. Whether if you serve startup founders, product managers, engineers, designers, hackers, product hunt is still a good place to, share your product. Will it be the place that drive that $1 million AR? Probably not anymore. But it was for us. It was more like a way to just still be active within the community of hackers and solopreneurs and startup founders, and also honestly get in front of a lot of our eyeballs as well. Because at the time our first campaign was got a lot of activity, and we even won like a Golden Kitty Award in I think it was 2021 for best AR product of the year. Pre LLM, pre ChatGPT, which was kind of cool.
Super nice. I can't help but thinking, why did your videos work so well? Or why were people kind of sharing them? Because I think that like everyone wants to like create a viral video for
Yeah.
business. But if you think about it, what do you think that was in these videos that made people like react so strongly to them?
Honestly, as we shared briefly earlier, I think it's just that the novelty effect. It was just so new at the time to be able to again like turn a prompt into a prototype, or turn like a rough sketch into a mobile app. Like it was like unheard of at the time. So the novelty, the wow factor is what drove that amount of engagement, I would say. And I guess it provoked an emotion in a lot of people into wow, technology can do this. And also some people were worried. Like we had early, like first comments on some of our YouTube videos was like, "Oh, I'm losing my job," even though it was not the case. But I guess emotion is what made people share these videos. I guess to some extent, both the wow emotion as well as perhaps like the slight fear or concern emotion. I don't know. I'm just guessing here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's super interesting to hear, and I think I wonder whether the internet is just more busy today, and it's even harder to break through, or whether the lesson is that as long as you just play with things that are very cutting edge, people will still kind of be prone to kind of share it and react to it.
I guess I mean, even though the internet is like busier than ever, and of course AI is on everybody's mouth, I'm sure you and I still see like widely viral videos once in a while where people are just applying AI to some crazy stuff, or even VR or like new
Yeah,
technologies. So I guess you have a point. Like if you are cutting edge enough, or you know, or even if it's not cutting edge, but like the experience is dramatically different from anything else people have experienced before, then I guess it's viral ready to some extent. But it's definitely harder to grab people's attention, given how much content there is.
super interesting. Cool. So we talked positioning and getting that right, and we being early in a category that's becoming a big category is very good as well. Are there any kind of, when you then think about the lift from the 500 to a million to kind of 2 million users, what kind of growth levers comes to mind in that period?
I think we discussed it all, like waitlist at the right time whenever you're launching novel enough products that can drive this early pre-launch traction. We talked about like SEO that was timely scheduled with respect to industry dynamics. We also talked about like leveraging influencers and basically leveraging any tailwind you might see in the market. I don't believe there's anything else that contributed to this growth, because eventually it became like a flywheel. More people will come to the product, invite their colleagues, show their colleagues, which then invited more people, and so on and so forth.
And then there's the unavoidable thing about you cannot get like such a strong, let's call it word of mouth,
No, forever.
case without, no, not forever, but also without a pretty significantly great product as well. So the core of the product experience must also have been quite wild for people to react this way.
Yeah, there's no marketing trick that would ever get you to where you need to go. Is the product also still need to be providing value for customers? And if it does provide value, then people will talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just experimentally thinking, if you were to launch a product from scratch again today, what would kind of be the kind of go to market, the
Yeah.
marketing lessons that you would think back on? Or maybe there's some new things that you think works today, which people should be considering utilizing?
I guess one thing we did, which paid off but could have went so wrong, is focused on product before even thinking about distribution. And I think now, if I were to do it again, I would think about distribution at the same time I think about product. It's great to have a product, but like if you don't really have a way for people to get in front of that product, good luck. It's gonna be tough. And again, we talked about like why we could still like bypass that first time founder naivety of not focusing on distribution. We were lucky in a way, but like I would focus on this like extremely seriously today, especially because of the reason we talked about. It's getting harder and harder to get in front of people. There's like a attention deficit, so you got to think really clearly, like who are our customers? Are there like millions of them? Are there 10,000 of them? Once you've defined this, where do they hang out? Do we need to just start building a relationship with these different places? How do we get there? How do we you know make sure that we always front and center whenever they in the places they hang out? We didn't think about any of that until way later, and that's very naive.
Attention deficit. I've never heard anybody say that, but that's a really good one, Tony. But it also that meaning that if there's this deficit, then like the things you put out need to be super crisp because people don't have time to watch anything because they're so busy watching everything. So to break through, you really need to think about positioning, messaging, how does it look, what's the story, and so forth.
And I guess probably also like stay, it will probably sound very cliche, but I'm a strong believer in like being authentic, especially now that people are fed like AI generated content left and right. Perhaps actually showing them the people behind the product, and being authentic might become something that really like resonates with people. That's just a belief. I don't have any data to back it up, but that's my intuition tells me that being authentic is probably gonna pay off big time as we move towards more and more AI driven, go to market and messaging and content.
That's my hope for humanity as well.
Yeah.
We'll appreciate humans even more. I think one of the big things for me is kind of, which I think is exciting, speaking of attention, that now I think ChatGPT now has 800 million users or something like that. We are also looking quite extensively at that at Dreamdata as well. Like we all go we used to go to Google and then search for articles there to find information. But nowadays, everybody goes to the AI overview before they start building a list of who they need to speak with. And I think you really need to pay a lot of attention, of course, depending on industry. But if I were going for product managers or marketers or engineers, I'd maybe say appearing in these AI overviews, the ChatGPTs must be kind of on the very top of the list of breaking through this attention deficit.
Completely agree. I mean, and that's also something that paid off. It's kind of funny because it's almost like a chicken and egg problem. You want to be like, you don't want to be focused on SEO per se, but you want to focus on like, AI engine optimization. But the way AI engine optimization work is also SEO driven because AI will ingest content that's also ranking higher on search engine. So I guess it's just, again, a reminder that the fundamentals still work today. If your SEO works, then AI will pick it up and then surface it to users when they're, are searching for that GPT and so on. But I'm sure that things will be drastically different within a month, given how fast things are moving now.
Yeah, it's going really fast at the moment. And I really want to stop the movement of AI.
You can't, Stefan. There's no way back, I think.
Stop having robots trying to call and pitch me. That's
yeah, that's not great.
Cool, Tony. This has been so interesting to hear about. I don't know if there's kind of a summarizing statement to make about kind of what succeeded with I think we've already touched upon a bunch of it, but when you think about Uizard's kind of explosive user growth, are there one or two most important levers that comes to mind that you think people should kind of take with them?
I guess one thing we didn't mention yet, but also like that also worked for us greatly, and is to brand the artifact that people share from a product. What do I mean by this? If you are using like Uizard to create a prototype and you would share it with people or embed it on the web, there will always be a little like created with Uizard in the bottom, and that means that even when people share the artifact that they create with your platform, they then create content that can become like a channel on its by itself. And we've seen it when people share, like, let's say a slide created in Google Slide. It's created in Google Slide. You can then create your own and stuff like that. Figma, same story. When you share a Figma file, it's created in Figma, even if you embed it on the web. So I guess this is the thing that I would tell the audience, is that if your product share artifacts, whether it's an image or document, text, content, data, visualization, anything, that artifact itself can become like a channel. So brand it, watermark it, make sure people know that this was what people used to create it in the first place.
That's really, really good point. That, like, think about your product. What are the elements of the products that people share, and make sure your logo is there when
is in there. Exactly.
I also remember, I think, powered by Intercom, the Intercom chatbot probably still has.
Very good example as well. Like whenever you embed Intercom on your website, like Intercom is all over the internet through their customer. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah.
Fantastic, Tony. If people want to learn more about Uizard, Miro, or you, what path should we send them on?
I guess X/Twitter or LinkedIn. You can type my name, and then I share some stuff once in a while about startup, AI, creative tooling, and so on.
Wonderful. All right, we're done. Thank you so much for your time, Tony. It was really good and fun to hear that story, and I'm really in awe of what you guys achieved with Uizard. So really well done. And everybody who's been listening to me and Tony, thank you so much for spending the time with us. And thank you so much for spending the time with us, Tony. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Stefan. It was fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you like listening to us. Subscribe to our podcast and the ones that we have been guests on.
And if you have any feedback for us, just do let us know. And should there be a guest that you think we should be talking to, then pitch us.
We're looking forward to seeing you.